From Urban Everyday UK, welcome to A Day in a Life. I'm Joe Kwaku, and behind every face, there is a story waiting to be told. Join us as we explore the diverse tapestry of lives across the UK. From bustling cities to quiet corners, we celebrate the ordinary moments that make life extraordinary. This is Day in a Life. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Day in a Life, where we celebrate the unique stories of everyday people. This March, as part of our International Women's Month series, we are honored to have Helen Dickinson with us.
Hello.
Helen is doing an incredible work helping over 50s overcome loneliness. And join us as we explore her inspiring journey and the impact of her work on empowering communities. Let's dive in.
Okay.
So, welcome once again, Helen, and we are honored to have you join us today.
Oh, thanks, Joseph. It's an honour to be here. Thank you very much. Yes.
To start with, could you tell us about your background and what led you to work in this community in terms of working with over 50s?
Okay. I'm originally from Accrington in Lancashire. I came down to London in 1988, and I was always part of the union. I always looked at the injustice. Some people have, some people don't. So I have, for years and years and years, worked with marginalised communities or people who are a bit hidden. I did many years working with street homeless in Soho and Camden, and we were putting them in hostels. I was working in hostels. I quite like joining new projects. So I was doing what they call floating support. That was for a local housing association in Hackney, ensuring that people who might be in danger of losing their tenancies were getting support and help and being signposted if needed. And then I saw an advert. It was for a 2-year project funded by the DWP for Tower Hamlets, working with the over 50s. They had noticed that there was quite a large number of older people keep repeatedly going to GPs, keep repeatedly being shown at A&E for sort of not particularly that bad ailments, but more just a loneliness, depression, sort of, anxiety, and so they thought, well, we'll do this project called Linkage Plus, and it's 5 organisations in Tower Hamlets all linked together, and we are sort of seen as like a one-stop shop for the over 50s. Central government have decided 50 and above is an older person. I personally, now that I'm in that category, yes, it's quite low, but I work for St Hilda's East Community Centre in Bethnal Green. But where I am based is over at Watney Market near Shadwell and Stepney Green. So,
wow. I mean, you've been doing this for a while.
19 years, yes. So,
yes.
Whilst it started off as a pilot project for 2 years, the council took it on. Tower Hamlets Council and Health took it on. So, and yes, I'm still there doing it 19 years down the line.
It's beautiful. I mean, from 1988, you've been in the communities where helping marginalized communities. So there's been your passion in your career life has been helping people who need help in different ways. Like you've been one of the voices, working with government and councils and communities, but like being in this community to support people who need help. That's been what you've been doing so far. And I think it's very impressive. It's really honorable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I just know I'm not a desk office person. I have done temping. I used to do for the homeless persons unit, but it just kind of wasn't for me, that sort of office environment. It just never has been. So, yeah.
Frontline, just like me.
Yes. Yeah. And I've never wanted to go into management. I've never had any desire to. I've never wanted to go to management either. So I'm still with Tower Hamlets. Yes. Yes, there's 5 organisations. We all work together, and that comes under the Linkage Plus.
You've worked for over a decade supporting this demographic. So you've worked 19 years. What are some of the key changes you've observed in the challenges they face during this time?
I think older people now have a much younger outlook. And when I first started, they were quite happy with coffee mornings and bingo, and sort of like kind of listening to Vera Lynn. And of course, people who we were working with 19 years ago, we were still working with quite a few people who have been in the war, who have fought in the war, and we've still got a couple now who've been like we're evacuees, but I think there's a much more younger approach with older people. I think they're more demanding, which I think is a good thing. Oh, it can be a good thing. They're more proactive. They're more physically active, or can be. And yeah, I think that old staid sort of, yeah, we'll just all sit round and have a chat. It's not quite enough for them anymore.
Mm.
Quite a few are on social media, but I mean, social media in its own way does raise challenges. As we found out during the pandemic, we had some who could take to Dr. Walter to Zoom. Were doing coffee mornings, quizzes, bingo, and then we've still got an awful. There's a quite a significant proportion cannot, for whatever reason, get onto social media, including Zoom, including Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not everyone who really, even for so-called young people, it's not everyone who is into tech and into social media and all of that. So
Mm,
I
mm.
guess, yeah, it's choice.
Well, and sometimes it's choice. I mean, it certainly can be a choice. There's also sort of like internet poverty. If you can't afford it, if you can't afford to
Hmm.
have internet, I
Data
mean,
and
or
all of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's gone slightly better. We found because back in the day, people couldn't sort of. We found people had a problem using a mouse and sort of the screen. Now it's more touch screen. That has become easy for people, but I don't think people are really wanting to do like an 8 week, 12 week courses. So we're having to get quite creative about how to introduce social media without not introducing it, if you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes. I.e., let's do a cookery class, let's look up a recipe. We're doing, we're using
Mm.
YouTube, but it's not in that sort of we've gone back to school kind of way. Mm.
Yeah. It's in a bit more of an organic feel to it.
Yeah, yes.
Do you know of any misconceptions or some of the common misconceptions people have about loneliness, particularly in over 50s?
I think people have got that very stereotypical little old lady shuffling around, one gas bar on their fire, and no one cares, and she doesn't know anyone, and no one knows her. I've not really come across anyone like that. But I mean, I think with loneliness, I think a lot of it comes with retirement as well. If you've got a lot of people have their identity tied up with work, tied up with employment, their status, their position, and then that finishes either through ill health or you have retired, you can kind of end up being a bit in a wilderness if you're not careful, sort of thing.
Yeah, like what you're saying is very true. And
Mm,
loneliness is not necessarily the same as being alone because
no.
there are some people who are not alone but may still feel lonely, and others may be alone and not feel lonely.
Mm, I personally been in a group and felt lonely. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I just wanted to make that distinction so people don't think that just because maybe somebody's alone, then it means they're alone. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
So
think with older people as well, Jules, I mean, obviously young people do that, but it can obviously come alongside. We find a lot of, because it's mainly women, because obviously, unfortunately, men do tend to die earlier. And it does tend to come hand in hand with bereavement, especially bereavement of the partner, life partner.
yeah.
And if you're in a case where the other person has done everything, run the house, don't overlook the finances, and you not only can you be alone and lonely and bereaved, and sort of you can also be in a bit of a financial mess.
True.
It can, yes.
Yeah.
We
Increased
have had people,
responsibilities and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's quite dynamic in that space. I mean, you guys are
Hmm.
doing well. So then you offer it's like a support system that you have for these people. It's not just about maybe keeping them active, but helping them in some of these other aspects as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they sort of once said we are like a one-stop shop for people over 50. So you might come along to our coffee morning. I've seen people, like you said, organically grow. They make friends, and then they're linked into other centres, and they're linked into other things. Da, 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 da. You might be a person who really a coffee morning or any sort of group session is not for you, but you can come in and see us. We can give advice on benefits. We have legal advice, pro bono solicitors coming in the evening. We have a computer room, and we can signpost you on. There's occupational therapy. There's the social services system. It can be really confusing and frightening for people. Benefits all online, and like we've just previously touched on, if you're not online, how are you filling in a PIP
Yeah,
form or an attendance allowance form?
true, true. You guys are you're doing an excellent job. You're doing an excellent job. Yeah. I mean, it's sad when you were sharing, you talking about how the men die earlier, you know,
Mm, mm.
the
I mean,
shame.
it is I mean, that's just stats. Is I mean, obviously, we have cases where the woman's gone first, but
Yeah.
yes, national stats
Mostly
do
the
say
men.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think women do tend to live about, on average, about 4 or 5 years longer than men. Yeah.
So, how does loneliness impact the physical and mental health of this age group?
I mean, it's certainly isolation. If you don't know that we exist, if, like I said, if you've been going to work and you don't know the area very well, English might not be your first language. You're not within your own community. I think it manifests itself. I mean, certainly and they're so linked, aren't they, mental and physical health? It's
Yeah.
depression, isolation, anxiety. Then it's like overthinking things, a little pain becomes, stage 4 cancer, whatever. We've all been behind the what and that's a bit of a shame actually going to supermarkets, the self-service. I think we've all been behind the older person in the supermarket queue and they're having a chat with the cashier. Personally, don't might be the only person they've spoken to that day. Yes. I know, especially yes, especially depression and anxiety. We do see it. Yes, yes.
So I think it's actually a good thing for our communities to be much warmer. One
Mm,
thing I've had, coming from an African background where generally, we're always talking to people on the roads. I mean, a
mm,
stranger is never really a stranger. You always, but in these communities, we find that we love to keep to ourselves, particularly in the UK. And sometimes our roads and our spaces can feel isolated because everyone wants to keep to their personal space and stuff like that. But it's also a good thing, like you're saying, to also be just maybe nice, smile to somebody,
yeah.
hello to somebody, this kind of keeping our spaces pretty warm and nice. I think it's a good thing. It helps
Well,
build
definitely,
the
especially coming from the north. I mean, you go up the north of England, and even when I go back home, you go out there and say, "Oh, hello, hello, hello." It's like, oh my word, it's like, yes. And of
true.
course, I mean, London's so transient. You might know your neighbour, but if they're only there temporarily, it's very transient, isn't it? So you might not know a lot of people in your street.
People.
Family
True.
family moved away. There was a big thing in Tower Hamlets back in the day. You kind of made it. You bettered yourself by moving out to Essex and Kent. Ironically, you can't afford Tower Hamlets now. So a lot of people that they are away from family. There's an awful lot,
True. Yeah.
and daughters, sons are living in Kent, Essex in particular. Some people live abroad. Whatever. Yes. Yeah.
Are there specific demographics within the over 50s that are more vulnerable or to loneliness? Have you noted any demographics that
I think men maybe. I think women do. I don't know. Maybe I'm being stereotypical because the coffee mornings and things. Women do tend to be nosier. They tend to want to find out about. about people a bit more. I have noticed the pubs round where I work, they're quite busy, but I think it's full of men because they'll go to the pub, which again isn't particularly that healthy. But we don't have so many men coming in to
Mm.
our activities. We have set up a men's group to address that, thinking that other men will like to meet up
In
with us.
that
And it
group,
is
yeah.
successful. It is successful. But yes.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's good. So we just keep finding out initiatives and finding out ways that we could get all these communities and people to make it more inclusive, you know.
yeah. Yes,
Mm.
yes, and it's. I mean, I don't know if you know, but obviously Tower Hamlets is a very significant Bengali community. Where I'm based is actually a Bengali day centre, but the people come to our project is mainly sort of non-Bengali. But we do have speakers for other communities and things because yes, it can be a major barrier, obviously, if
Yeah.
you can't make yourself understood. Yes, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing those as well. What are some
Mm-hmm.
of the effective strategies for combating loneliness in over 50s? I think you've highlighted some of them, but maybe the person has not come to you yet and is watching us and maybe is not within your geographical space, but wants to glean something from our conversation. What are some of the effective strategies for combating loneliness in over
I
50s?
think it is to reach out. So obviously, libraries are always a really good source of information. Anybody, certainly the big national charities, the big one is obviously Age UK. They have centres and helplines every part of the. I don't know about Scotland and Wales, I must admit, but certainly England. There's Age UK. That Age UK Tower Hamlets, or East London, is part of our scheme as well. So yes, word of mouth. It's not even, I mean, a lot of supermarkets are community boards that might have things on. Yes, I mean, obviously there are things online, but I am very well aware that not everybody is online and can't have access that way. So certainly, leisure centres, yeah, libraries, yes.
Cool.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing those. So you've highlighted a lot of this about the community programs, the social activities. All of these play a good role in helping address loneliness. You've mentioned these as well. Leisure centers have social
Mm.
activities, community programs, and all of that. How important is it to address loneliness proactively before it becomes a severe issue? I don't know if at the moment, like you said, for a couple of years now, 19 years ago, it started as a pilot. So was this reactive or proactive? I think it was maybe at that time it was a bit
Yeah,
reactive at that time.
yes. I mean, I always got the impression it was reactive, and a lot of it was. There was an awful lot of um, hey, who was taking the stats? I've no idea. But there was a lot of older people, and it was primarily within A&E and the GPs who kept coming, and there's nothing particular, certainly not, there
Oh,
wasn't like
yeah.
any emergency as stuff. Because when I first started, Joseph, there would be some little localised groups which were run by local women, and we'll get a little bit of but it's like really for like their mates sort of thing. But anything like, oh, can you fill out an attendance allowance for them? Forget it. Someone was on their own. So they did start it, and it was very, and I'm not knocking it because it is a very youthful borough, is Tower Hamlets. So a lot of finances and resources were being directed towards the younger people.
Mm,
Obviously, extremely important, but it kind of did rely on just this like little band of like women in the local neighbourhoods deciding to get the mates round for a cup of tea, and it needed a more sort of strategic sort of framework
mm,
where it was more professional really and was sort of more encompassing and yeah, so yes, because otherwise it was great if you lived next door to Doris and she let you in for a cup of tea, but yeah, it might only go that far. Yeah,
mm. The government getting involved in all of that made it more impactful. I mean, it started reactively, but
it
now,
made it more impactful, and it made older people have a say, have a, they were, they had a, they were there, they had a presence. They had much more of a presence.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, when I first started, you were dealing with a generation who were actively involved with the war, the war.
Yeah,
Second World War, obviously, I'm talking about, but yes. And that generation has rapid, they've obviously got to an age where they've died off now, but yes. And did we cross over the different? So the whole of Tower Hamlets is covered. So we cross over. We liaise with our colleagues in different organisations. So it has worked very well. There's no sort of we're a bit better than you or we're a bit bigger than you or any of that. It really has worked out well. Yes.
yeah. What advice would you give to a family member or friends who are concerned about a loved one experiencing loneliness?
I think just sort of if someone can just sort of say, oh, I think maybe you are feeling lonely, are you? Because like you're saying, some people are quite happy being on their own. They don't want that input, but it's like so I think you have to need to know where the actual person is coming from and what they would like. I mean, if they do want to join in clubs or anything, and whoever has access to the internet is probably Age UK is probably your first protocol. Or what really it is what that older person wants to do if they want to do anything at all. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. Do you think technology, I mean, we spoke about some of the challenges and the internet poverty and all that, but how can technology be used to help alleviate loneliness? Do you think it has a role?
It certainly did during the pandemic. It certainly
Oh,
did.
yeah, it did. You're right.
Yeah, yes, because I think everybody had to. Gosh, because I don't think I've been on Zoom actually since the pandemic, and we were trying to set up sort of online activities, and everyone just went no. We
We've
were
had
stuck
2 years of it.
indoors. We are sick and tired of it. We were stuck in the house. We want to get out and about with our
Mm,
friends, but it's great for anybody housebound. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, we can set up sort of different activities, different sessions, and it can
mm.
bring people together that way. And obviously, you can go around the world. I mean, I'm assuming you're not in Bermuda, but you could well be. And yeah, fair play if you are, Joseph, you know what I mean? With your lovely
Yes,
palm tree behind you. But so, I mean, yes, you can connect with anybody in the world, can't you? So,
indeed. Mm.
yes. And actually, YouTube's quite popular because once they can find out they can choose what music and yeah, that's quite popular with our older folk.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come a bit closer to you and your work and all of that, like you as a person.
Mm.
What has been the most rewarding aspect of your work?
Oh gosh, for this still to be there 19 years down the line, it sounds crazy, but I do actually love getting involved with new things. And it's like, oh, well, you've been there for 19 years. You can kind of be a little bit of your own boss. We have English National Ballet come in, we have access tickets to Kew, to London Zoo, to the Tower of London and Kensington Palace, and all those sorts of
Lovely.
places. Sadler's Wells. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then we take them on trips, so you kind of yeah.
You've experienced lots
It's
of different things.
oh yeah, yeah.
It must be beautiful. I mean,
It,
yeah.
it it's challenging and it can certainly be tiring.
Mm.
Um, when
Yeah,
we,
probably.
we do our big parties and someone's such as saying that you've fiddled the raffle and you're like, actually, I don't think I've got time to do that. But no, it's a great job. It's a great job, and it's ever changing because and
Yeah.
I just love people. I mean,
Pe-
everyone has a story. Everybody has a story. Yeah,
And
and that's
usually
what I find
people,
fascinating.
yeah,
Mm.
they're inspirational. We get to know these people's stories. They
Mm.
motivate us, they
Mm.
inspire us to keep doing what we
Yeah,
do and all of that.
yeah.
Great.
Mm.
And what about challenges? What's been some of the biggest challenges you faced in your role?
In this particular role, one of the stipulations that people obviously the only criteria is you have to be over 50, but you have to make your own way to our centre. We can help with dial-a-ride forms, we can help with the taxi card forms, that's no problem. But we do know there's a significant amount of people who are housebound. We do also know a lot of services such as the mobile library is finished, Meals on Wheels is finished,
Mm.
the old-fashioned sort of care. I mean, obviously people get carers, but carers are always running late. Part of the travel is part of their hour. They really
Mm.
do come in, bang, 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 the minimum, then they're out the door.
Move out.
That is not a criticism. I think the whole system is really badly designed. But but we know there's a significant proportion of housebound people, or people will find it for whatever reason difficult to get to the centre, and it can be slightly frustrating that we can't reach out to them.
Mm.
We find it very difficult to reach out to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We rely on, I mean, we get referrals from GPs and a team called social prescribers. So we do get referrals, but it's quite difficult. If you go along and do a we'll do house visits. Someone's housebound, it's not much point me giving them a leaflet going, oh, here's a coffee morning. They can't get to it. Yeah.
Mhm. I can see how frustrating that, given the passion that you guys have.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are drawing towards the end of the conversation now. What are your hopes for the future in terms of addressing loneliness in over 50s? I know maybe one of the could be that eventually we should be able to, as it were, be able to reach out to this one, maybe find innovative ways of reaching
Mm.
out to people who are housebound, like you're just saying, or people who for some reason cannot necessarily come to the center. But yeah, but generally, what are some of the hopes for the future in terms of addressing loneliness in the over 50s?
I think one of my main hopes is that people can identify loneliness, that it's spoken about a lot more, and across generations. We've got to. I mean, we've got to remember a lot of younger people who, hey, social media really isn't a problem, are feeling lonely. I think as a society, like you were saying, I mean, for you in your African background, me with my Northern English background, it has lost a lot of that. Where you did say hello, where you did. I have actually made it a mission to every morning just walk down and I just say hello to everybody. I've gone back to being northern, and actually, oh gosh, 90% of people do say hello back, and yes, if there's a bit more of that, I mean,
Mm.
and hey, in an ideal world, there is no loneliness. I mean, loneliness can come through different things. I mean, certainly bereavement's one of the big ones, isn't it? But yes, and if there's more of a linkage plus throughout the country, and it is actually, I feel a bit lonely. Actually, I don't know anybody, but I know where to go to. Yes.
Yeah. I like what you said, identifying loneliness and also maybe talking a
Mm,
bit more about it. I
mm,
think just maybe to some extent there's a bit of a taboo because we don't talk a lot about it. People feel ashamed to identify
mm,
or to say that maybe I'm feeling lonely.
yeah.
I recall one time, when I moved to the UK at the time, I didn't have any networks here. So it's either work or home and not a lot of activities to do. And so I
Mm.
called a friend and I was saying that I think I'm feeling lonely.
Yeah,
So
but again, but straight away you're laughing about it because there is this embarrassment. I mean, I've done it before, and it's like, for me personally, it's like, oh gosh, everyone will think she's really, oh, why is she lonely? No one must like her. No one wants to hang around with her. And then before you know it, all these negative thoughts, which are absolutely baseless, are
mm,
crowding in your head, and it's no, you just feel a bit lonely. You just feel lonely, It's
yeah. Yeah, so
mm,
it's a common thing. I mean, I think each and every one of us, maybe at one point in our life, have felt this feeling of loneliness before.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we should encourage the conversation around it.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Where it's like, oh, I feel happy. Oh no, no, everyone will go, oh well, like, oh, that's an emotion. That's what you feel. I feel lonely, and it should be treated in the same. It's an emotion.
emotion.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But identify and address it. But
That's
people need
great.
to be given the tools for that. Yeah. Mm.
Right. So bringing that to the tools bit, what message would you like to share with our listeners about the importance of connection and community? And I used to tell people, and I think I still do, that if you move to a new location, or like we've had to move from one place to the other and all of that, you get to a new community, you try to to reconnect, maybe create your own community in the new space where you've come to. Maybe if you like going to the gym or you like running,
Mm-hmm.
maybe look for a group of people who are into the same thing. Or maybe you like singing, join a group, a community that's
Yeah.
into singing or something. And this becomes like your first community, which helps you to deal with being lonely. So I've
Yes.
always said that to people. And I don't know what advice you'd like to share with listeners about the importance of connection and community. I mean, in dealing with loneliness and all of that.
Definitely what you said, Jules, is very, very true. I mean, they always do say you get in touch, you get involved with something that you like, you meet like-minded people. I personally, if you've moved to a very brand new area, start very small. Keep going to your corner shop, buy a paper, buy some sweat, and just say hello to the person behind the counter. They're probably really grateful for it because most people don't say anything to it. And they say hello back, and that's one person you've had some sort of interaction with.
Mm,
Very, very small little base, but you can build on that. Mm.
beautiful. Beautiful. That's a rich one. Very
Yeah.
practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes, it is just get out there, or yes, just there's a lot out there. Yes, there's a lot out there for people to do. You
So
don't have to be lonely. Yeah.
you don't have to be lonely. Yeah.
Mm.
If we, for example, if I meet somebody who is feeling lonely, yeah, we are focusing on over 50s, right? So if the person is over 50, one of the things you can do, aside engaging with the person, you can encourage the person to maybe reach out to Age UK, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe to you guys.
Yes, you can. But obviously, we are just Tower Hamlets. Because I'm just
Yes,
thinking nationwide. But yes, if yes, yes. But the certainly, obviously, I live in London, so all the London boroughs will probably have something
aptly
quite
similar.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every borough has something similar, like what you guys have, and
Mm-hmm.
these are
Mm-hmm.
communities that are helping over 50s.
Yeah.
Wow. Ellen, you've been phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, thank you. At long last, because it was like, oh gosh, yeah, the meeting thing was yes, yes.
Indeed. We've been
Mm.
planning this for a while now. Thank you so much, Helen, for sharing your
Oh, you're
valuable
welcome, Joseph.
insights and experiences.
Yes.
Right.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Joseph. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to A Day in the Life from Urban Everyday UK. I'm your host, Dijo Kwaku. Every day is a story waiting to be written. Join us next time as we continue to explore the human experience. Subscribe to A Day in the Life for more inspiring stories and share this episode with someone whose story deserves to be heard.